Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. Welcome to another run. Now this is one that I've been teasing for a little while here, mostly because stuff keeps getting more complicated every single day, but you know what? Eventually you manage to actually bother to get around to get to one of these runs. So I've oftentimes said that this game can be beaten with basically anything that you've got with you in your party right now, but one thing that I haven't tested as of yet is whether or not you can actually beat the entire thing basically with nothing. So let's go ahead and do that. Now I have made a series before saying, you know, here's how you beat XYZ random thing with basically nothing, but that was like the actual minimum battles without stopping at the store, any of that kind of stuff. Like the sort of newbie trap of I didn't bother to engage with any of the mechanics, how dare the game punish me for it kind of stuff, which you have seen in every single version of this game so far. Like every SRPG out there, there's always someone that's going to send a message. They're like, I'm like 800 hours into the game. I'm still using a short sword. When do I get an upgrade? It's like, buddy, have you tried opening the menu? How have you gotten this far, you know? So anyways, welcome to the Union Level 0 run. This is courtesy of a awesome mod that Alistair put together recently, so thank you kindly for putting this thing together. Basically, this is... yeah, this mod does exactly what you think it does. It sets the Union level to 0. So basically, we don't get levels at any point throughout the game. So let's see, what is a god to you in this case? It feels like god's pretty much going to be an illusion for this kind of run. Let's see, what is, let's see, a devil grant you a wish for any price. What are you willing to endure? I don't know what that lady's about to endure, but it certainly looks like something not exactly safe for work. We'll just say Relentless Fear seems appropriate for this run. By the way, no, I'm not going to min-max stats for these cards. It's hopeless anyway. Let's just continue on. A sage will grant you a single piece of wisdom. What will you learn of him? How the hell to possibly get through this shit? Just so you know, while it is, you know, an almost joke-worthy Ultramasochist run here, I do actually have ways that I'm thinking that it's actually possible to not only get through the thing, possibly even get through Coda, but again, it very well might be impossible. Let's just give this a bit of a try. So let's see, you're attempting to take the life of another. Why are you attempting this dire act? I mean, obviously to defend my life, because clearly somebody just let some random pigeon loose, and it's a threat to our entire squad. Let's see, of the many evils men do, which is the most damning? Let's see, don't steal my experience, but then it's going to steal my experience, so, you know, it is what it is. Now, let's see, to get started here, just so you know, as far as whose blessings you seek here, elements are going to be near worthless to us for a good majority of this run, as far as I'm predicting anyway. I'll get to why in a moment. So clearly we got to go with, you know, sick-ass lightning horse. Just Robo Horse is the best. Let's go ahead and continue on. So, okay. Now, as far as this run's concerned, you might be wondering, like, dude, you can't frickin' do damage. How would this run even work? Well, as I mentioned, there's going to be a few different things at play for this run here. The first and foremost is actually one that I've gone and I've told folks is going to be some of the most powerful stuff in the game already, namely locked-in percentages and the ability to recruit stuff. Both of those things are already going to be super overpowered. Now, you might be saying, wait a minute, you can't get Recruit until level 5. Correct. There's almost nobody that can use Recruit, but we'll get to that when we get to it. See, there's some quirks about setting the Union level to 0. Like, this mod doesn't necessarily just say, hey, everybody's set to level 1. Apparently, the game actually, like, doesn't know how to handle that information and does funny stuff when they try to do it. So instead, the way that this actually works is that it sets the Union level to 0 as per request. We'll get to that in a moment. Here, let's just set up elemental bars because they look pretty and continue on. Also, I'm permanently going to keep the elemental bars just because it's usually the best way to go about this, and also because every time that I've switched over to the faction bars, somebody's like, oh yeah, I tried to use the elemental bars, buddy, I can't, you know, clearly that elemental information is worthless. Like, no, stop taking the wrong information from these videos. Anyway, so... let's see, we'll go ahead and deny this guy multiple times, just because clearly we don't need him. Anyway, so, let's go ahead and continue on to Almorica. So there's nothing that we can really do. As you can see, our Union level up here is 0. Let's go ahead and get our cursor over here. So union level is 0. It will stay at 0. Now, mechanically, what this does is it means that nobody in our party can ever gain experience. This also means that we don't have access to finishers, which definitely takes out a lot of our abilities right there. And then also, yeah, like we just can't make levels go up in any way. However, there is a little quirk, and bear in mind this isn't going to be what the run relies on, but there's a little bit of a quirk that that units can't actually have their levels removed. So while level scaling is a thing that exists if you want it later on in the game, as far as actually removing levels from your units, it is unable to remove them or to change them beyond their kind of starting condition, as it were, which means that certain units will inherently just have higher levels that we won't be able to remove. They won't be able to get any better, and it still won't be enough to win a run on raw power, you know, as you'd kind of expect, but either way, it's just kind of there. Anyways, we'll go ahead and walk up here, go collect our free item. We'll go collect one more free item from where Canopus is standing. Apparently he can't pick them up, and then we'll move on from there. Anyway, as far as locked-in percentages, for those that are unaware of how all of this stuff works, basically there's a lot of abilities that will have a locked-in percentage chance to happen. You know, whether you're using something like the Spell Strike buff, or you're going and using something like your automatic abilities or anything like that, which, yes, obviously we won't have access to a lot of those automatic abilities, but a lot of that stuff is going to be a locked-in percentage, which basically means that, yes, for a huge chunk of this, our primary source of damage is going to be 30% poison. So there's that. We also will later have access to poisonous arrows. You know, ninjas are definitely going to be a staple, just like they were the first time around. For those that missed the, this is basically going to be the equivalent of the level 1 run back in Tactics Ogre BSP, because the rule set was the same. Units just simply could not gain experience. It's being handled thematically in the exact same way. Not to mention, this is just generally going to be better than, you know, hey, just know everybody's locked in exactly at 1. It would be a lot more difficult for that mod to be created, and also generally would have, it would just have less fun to it. It feels fun to still have access to some very rare abilities here and there. Like, for example, anytime we'll recruit anybody above level 5, you better expect that they're going to be turned into a Fencer or Valkyrie for that meditate plus recruit situation. Because, yeah, recruit is going to be a pretty major tool over the course of this thing. Later on, we'll definitely be making a solid bit of use of that. And it's actually, like, if it wasn't for recruit, I would say Coda might well be impossible, because we can thin down enemies and delay them and stuff like that without their help. But being able to basically go in and just get extra units is going to be a bit of a major thing. Also, I just noticed, do I have the sound effects off or something? I'm not sure if that's my headset or if that's my sound settings from some video or other. Yeah, I have the effects way down. That's weird. Usually I have these pretty well up. Anyway, I'll go ahead and put them right over there. Back to it. Anyway, so there's ways. There's ways to have this done. It's actually a funny inverse of how the PSP run went. Because in PSP, we had basically no access to equipment, and then we also had basically no access to learned abilities. This time around, we have some access to some learned abilities, again, like the PSP version. In that case, you had to sacrifice one of your named characters in order to have them transfer that skill to somebody else. Transferring anatomy, for example, over to Denim was a huge part of why that run was even possible. This time around, those unique characters will get to stick around and actually use those abilities, being some of the only ones that are actually capable of using them, that is. And on top of that, we're actually going to stick with the same thing, where if somebody dies, they're just dead. If a unit's, like, basically, if the fight is winnable, we carry on. We're not going to do this whole resetting because that guy might potentially prevent a soft lock. We're just perfectly going to accept a soft lock if it's in the cards. So yeah, just so you know, that is absolutely a thing. I do have ways, again, that I'm planning to make this entire thing possible, but I'm not really. I'm not just going to sit here and reset over and over and over. Cards are allowed, charms are allowed. It gives us something. More than likely, we're going to end up wanting to do something along those lines before the end of the game. Like, we're not going to bother going and, like, friggin' maxing everybody out or anything. Because one way or another, they still wouldn't have access to skills or finishers or anything like that. Again, the idea is just to kind of play this as naturally as possible and just kind of see where it goes. It's really just discovering the weird nonsense along the way that makes these kinds of runs so fun. So if you're just sitting there like, no, 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 we got to stick with plan A the whole time, it's just going to be a bad time. You know what? We're just going to wing it. We're going to make this happen. For those that didn't watch the level 1 run of PSP, what it consisted of was going and using all of the grindable skills to go get our ranks up to absolutely stupid numbers. And then we were barely able to scratch things. And then using that, we were able to go and abuse the fact that there are Terenites in Farampa that actually will come in with meat items, which I actually, come to think of it, I haven't tested if those still have... like, I did run that map a few times. I never saw any meat items drop over there, so that might have been moved somewhere else. Many things along those lines were, because that was a pretty commonly known exploit, where it's like, if you wanted to get a absolute shitload of free stats, you just go and kill those Terenites over and over. And it's like, here you go, just free meat items, just 3 of them per fight, you know? Which, granted, it would still be somewhat annoying in this case, because they would only be able to carry a maximum of 4, but they also, I don't think... I've never actually used a meat item, I don't think, in this game, so... Yeah, go figure. Thousands of hours in, I just never used the freaking stat boosts. I think they restore MP. I actually don't know. They might just do the stats. Anyway, whatever. We'll find out when we get there. So yeah, we have the option to go and sell monster units. That's for some of it. So if we get any units that are able to tame beasts, clearly that's going to be a pretty big advantage right there. Not really going to do much for our defensive stats for the most part, but still, you know, if we particularly go for strength items, that could definitely do a bit of a thing. Let's see. On top of that, if we go ahead and... well, I mean, the poison's definitely going to be a big part of it. Really, once Farampa opens up, that's where a lot of things open up. If you're thinking, like, hey, wouldn't fights in Farampa be impossible? They are permanently scaled to your level. Unlike PSP, they actually do just scale to your level regardless of what your level is. So... basically, the reason that was a bit of a pain to access back in PSP was because there was a minimum level for every single fight. So this created this situation where if you tried to go in with all lobies, you would just oftentimes get your ass whooped unless it was something like Tynemouth or the Beginning River or something like that. Whereas in this version, if it's a random fight, if it has the option to scale, it will scale to whatever your highest level is. It just simplifies things. It's nice. You don't have to worry about knowing esoteric bullshit that nobody would keep track of. Again, outside of folks working on mods or whatever. So with that wrinkle out of the way, I would say anything that we can access in Farampa or Pirate's Graveyard or anything along those lines is basically fair game, which does mean that we can potentially abuse things like Patriarchs and abuse things like Hoplites down the road. That's going to be one of our few cases of effective tanking and whatnot. Like, the only reason that I think Coda is possible is entirely due to the fact that we'd be able to access Hoplites this time around, and we also would be able to access... I guess technically no, we couldn't access Hoplites at all last time. We have access to way more classes this time around, I should probably mention. So while we don't necessarily get access to all of their skills on account of the level thing, we do have access to a lot more classes, because last time we just plain could not access many of them through any means whatsoever. Recruit skills outside of the necromancy ones were not available at level 1, and since, you know, everyone was just set automatically to 1 in that case, this also meant that we could only recruit undead units, more or less. So it was just never going to happen in that particular scenario. This time we do have access to Hoplites. That's not necessarily going to make it easier, but it is going to allow for cheesing through the end game. So through a combination of Resurrection and the ability to use Hoplites, basically maybe combining in with a fairy if we have access to the right skills in that situation, it could theoretically create a effective enough kind of like time loop situation for those units to be able to more or less make an invincibility shield of sorts. We've got a lot of little bits and pieces to make this machine work, but again, we'll figure it out. Funnily enough, there'll always be permanently experience cap there. Alright, Ronway does some talking, and we are the Order of Nothing! There we go. A fine name, you'll go far, yep. We'll go as far as maybe the end of Chapter 1. I joke, I already know for a fact that reaching the end of Chapter 1 is perfectly reasonable. I've gone and tested this a little bit. There's a few things that I know for a fact we'll be able to pull off. But we do have to adjust this pretty scuffed party right from the get-go. Alright, so couple of things that we want to pay attention to. First of all, let me make sure not to overwrite my original save. Second of all, as far as units go, I love clerics, but we won't really be using them this time around. We're going to be switching them over to... Actually, this one we can leave as is. We need one cleric with exorcism. That probably should be you. You already have exorcism. We're just going to feed some magic leaves to Kashua, or just hand her some as soon as we get some. That'll help out with that situation. For another thing, we want to go pick up some defense rings. Like, this run, and one of the reasons that I love doing runs like this so much, is basically going to be a pure showcase of just how far you can go with defensive play, and I absolutely love that kind of stuff. So we're just going to start off with a few copies of this, a few copies of this. We're going to want some... we're going to want some of these for later. We're going to want some of these for later, just in case. Several of these, because basic wizards are going to be our basic bread and butter for a good chunk of this thing. And alright, so, as I mentioned, this means that our starting aces are actually starting aces. We have one unit with Pincer Attack and Mighty Impact. Holy shit, that is going to feel overpowered over the course of this run. But yeah, as you can kind of expect, we will not be getting any form of finishers or anything along those lines, but as soon as a unit has levels, they are able to rank their weapon skills up. So I'm going to keep this one with axes. I'm going to give them daggers here, just for the purpose of kind of letting them rank up their daggers a little bit, give them a little bit more defense against a slightly faster weapon. Our archer here, we will be utilizing them later, but for the time being, I want to switch them over to a caster. Their stats will be irrelevant, because we're going to be doing the best way to do this whole thing in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and have these three as enchantresses right now. These guys are able to start off with concentration, thankfully, and meditate. Which means that they will be able to do everything that we need them to do very effectively, namely poison things and charm things. Their other stuff will happen as it happens, but that's going to be, like, this team of aces, that is going to be their long-term thing here. They have concentration, they have meditate, they last as long as they possibly can, poisoning and mind-controlling stuff. So that's going to be that right there, that right there. Why am I getting spammed messages? Those are unimportant spam. Nice. Alright. So we're actually going to be doing dagger and shield. I need to get more daggers and shields for them then, as well as more helmets and things. You can probably stay as a warrior for the time being, just so I have one knockback unit, because we don't want to be all backline units all the time. Now, in Denham's case, yeah. He's basically just going to heal and pray to survive. He's going to want to switch over to something else later. In fact, maybe we'll just keep him as Rune Fencer, because that's usually what I keep him as. He's never going to get more health or defense or anything along those lines, so we're going to be rocking spears with him. Again, those shields will help for the time being, but realistically, it's not going to be any kind of long-term solution. We're going to pop in some extra weapon skills here, just for that really tiny defense boost, in case it somehow helps us. I'll put that over there. Same goes for you. You're going to face a two-hander later, you're going to face a one-hander later, and one lizard with a hammer. So we'll go ahead and put you on there. This gives us a very minor advantage in terms of potentially allowing a unit to maybe target something else. But either way, very minor advantage for the time being. Any other weapon skills we can pop in there, we might as well. It'll just give them that tiny bit of extra defense. You never know in a run like this. So, either way, we'll have that there. Let's see, you're water. I don't have anything extra spell-wise for you. Let's see, you're also water, you're ice. I mean, nothing too fancy to go on here. I'm not even going to bother equipping a lot of their normal spells that often. Later on, once they get their range upgrades, I'm thinking what I want to do is... Oh, that's the rest of our money, actually. I'm thinking potentially what we want to end up doing is going for crit setups, and maybe go for what's it? Just basically like crit snipes with missiles and stuff like that, just to keep stuff at bay. If we can get a hold of something like Conserve RT on somebody, it's not necessarily going to be for damage. It's just going to be for spacing. But either way, so we need a couple of copies of Awaken real quick, and then also let's see. Set lightning, we need Instill Earth. We don't have that other thing yet. We will get one extra copy of Exorcism for the moment. And Sleep, because why not? Okay. We are still missing a few helmets and things, but for the moment it'll be fine. So So we need more robes. We have circlets. So pop them in right here. Okay, I bought one circlet too many. There's really no reason to min-max this hard at this point. But still, we're just kind of preparing ahead of time. Alright, and a few robes, because believe it or not, these robes are actually going to be best-in-slot equipment. Yeah, that's depressing. And then I wanted to go daggers and shields, but I don't think we'll be able to afford the shields, so we'll just get them as we go along. We'll buy more daggers later. Why did I go back to the shop? That's not what I meant to do. Alright, and robe. Okay, maybe put on robe. We're not trying to do a strip show here. Alright, defender ring on you, and robe for you. Okay, I'm just going to consistently buy too much of everything. Let's go ahead and continue on. So items are not going to be the thing to carry us. So that was another one of those things that really helped a lot last time, which was just having an absolute ton of items to be able to carry us through a lot of situations. We're basically trying to get through the entire game using only stuff that doesn't really rely on stats to any degree. So, well, at least not in a minimum effective sense. So this is why debuffs, especially stuff like poison, is going to be our primary source of damage for a solid majority of this run. But we are going to be approaching it from a lot of different angles as time goes on. Also, I never checked what this guy's actually good at this time around. Very high resistance and vitality. Accidentally, perfectly what I wanted. Alright. So Canopus is going to slap everybody around as he does. We don't have to worry about any weapon skills whatsoever. You guys go forward, you get your meditates, you get your concentrates, and suddenly everything is very different for you. So, alright, you go here. And yes, I did leave the longer animations on, just kind of for the hell of it. Alright. So we continue on. Not really. I mean, at this point, we're just at a very mild disadvantage. Over time, it'll become way more of a disadvantage, but we'll be okay for now. This fight, we may get a couple incapacitations, and that's about it. Shouldn't be anything too serious. It better not be too serious, because we didn't bring any backup plans for any of that. Alright. So, yeah, I forgot to equip his heals, didn't I? Alright, let's see, 65. Just go for the 83 with the elemental advantage. And then the rest of y'all can go for poison and things. No, 9% never rolls. Alright. 50% with a concentration. That one misses because RNG is going to RNG. Yes, yes. Finish your chatter. No need to go start a sewing club. We got places to be. Alright. Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to to rename Denim to G1 at this point. Feels like exactly the kind of dude that would be here going and leading this whole thing. Alright. You're at a disadvantage versus this one. Hit him anyway. Alright. He's going to take some shots. And considering that these can end at a completely random point, I think I'm just going to try to make them like 45 minutes long each, something along those lines. And, you know, we'll just kind of continue on from wherever they happen to be. Just to try and not do my usual thing of getting stuck in trying to do specific parts by specific specific times and whatnot. Always has a tendency to make some of these runs drag on a little bit. Alright, drop some poison over there. Nice. Perfectly just friendly fire, because she decided not to concentrate. Need to be concentrating, lady. Thankfully, concentration only needs to roll once in a blue moon, so we're mostly perfectly fine there. Let's see, she's on water. Not that this will help with her debuff situation at all, but she really loves missing her coin flips. We know that much. Okay, we get our double stab over here. He will be retiring this spear down the road. Really, I'm just keeping him with the bronze spear as a bit of a placeholder for the time being. Just regular spears should be enough to at least do something till the end of Chapter 1. Once we get down to the later portions here, that's when we'll be wanting to switch him over to either a poison spear or a breaching spear, depending on what we can get up to. So, we'll get there when we get there. One thing at a time. But especially the counter poison is going to be pretty major. See, when it comes to the breaching stuff, I don't quite know how far we can stretch our initial, basically non-existent stats to actually do damage with multiplied scenarios. So, we'll see. I don't think there's too much potential there, but We'll kind of figure it out on the fly. And if you're saying go, double check the damage calculator or whatnot, I mean, sure, but it's more fun to do it this way. Alright, so that one's almost dead to poison, so why don't you go ahead and see about charming this one. But these 30% hit odds, that's pretty much what we're going to be relying on for a huge chunk of this. Just because those charms are going to be pretty major for throwing stuff against each other, it's a strategy that still works even into the post-game and whatnot, so it definitely will do the job here. It's going to be a little bit of a rough time figuring out how to hold defenses to make all of that stuff land, but we're going to figure that out. I mean, a lot of it is going to involve a lot of sacrificing units and whatnot, especially once we get access to Recruit. We're basically just going to have free sacrifices that we're probably going to be burning through every time, so, we'll make it work. We should probably finish off the rest of this fight just to have more resources to play around with. I don't expect too much trouble going into the end of Chapter 1, but you never know. You absolutely never know what kinds of stuff ends up coming up. I know in PSP, I ended up getting completely, nearly stuck right from the get-go in that particular run. The way to actually get around it turned out to just be to equip a dagger and more or less struggle through a fight until an infinite grind loop could be set up. And I mean, that was the issue with PSP, though. Pretty much every problem could be solved with an infinite grind loop. But anyway, eventually anyway, it definitely wasn't a short-term process by any means. It was a very slow run. I expect this one to be a lot more active in terms of the strategies at play and whatnot. Alright. You go ahead and pick up the skill card, make you be a little bit more likely to think more often, lady. And let's go throw poison over here. Let's go and melt this dude down a little bit. I mean, it's not exactly perfect damage by any stretch of the imagination, but it'll work. It'll work. And if there's any kind of longer, more quiet periods, I'm thinking probably what makes sense to do is there's going to be several points over the course of this this run where there's just going to be long periods of kind of doing the same thing. So for those situations, I'm definitely going to go and cut some stuff out. So if anything ever ends up missing, that's going to be why. Because obviously, this run is going to be a slow one. It's by no means going to be the quickest thing in the world. But we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Anyway, we took an end cap over there. I really don't want to be losing any of these guys just yet, so we're going to start working on taking out Orba, who, interestingly enough, is the guy that was supposed to have done that painting in Heim that you never see. So that's certainly a thing. Anyway. Alright, let's see. Mighty Impact on you. Take this one down a little bit of a peg over here. Man. Really love how strong warrior units are when they're in their ideal state here. Okay, let's go ahead and poisonify you. And yes, as you may be aware, many bosses are going to be completely immune to poison. Many of the early ones aren't, thankfully, but many of the later ones are. We do have a plan for this, and yes, it does involve a lot of throwing stuff off hills or throwing them against walls repeatedly. There are a ton of ways that we could potentially go about it. Just like last time, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. There's going to be several situations that will feel absolutely impossible, but we'll figure out a way to make it happen. There's always enough mechanics at play to make something work, so let's see how it goes. I think the only one so far that mechanically seemed to actually be impossible was the original one back on the SNES there. Mostly because, as far as I'm aware, there's no way to get pain early on or any equivalent like it. So it's pretty much just stats for the majority of that particular one. They really started doing a lot more of that later on through the series. I would think that Knight of Lotus should probably be possible. March of the Black Queen, I mean, maybe. It's theoretically possible with cards. I'd figure there's no way to get a good ending doing that, but I figure it's theoretically possible. I mean, I guess Ogre Battle 64, but again, it was so vastly not designed for that I don't think there's necessarily any way to do it. I don't know, whatever, we'll figure that out. Anyway, now we have a unit at level 4. Oh shoot, the level cap is higher than it's ever been. Anyway, in his particular case, his setup will work for now. There's no reason to get too fancy with it. Again, he can never use a finisher, so this is just kind of what we got. Give him some daggers, give him some fists for reasons. Dynast King's Mead for breach. And that'll pretty much do it there. I forget when we get access to the Lobber, but would be good to have access to that. Anyway, we'll figure out more as we go along here. Let's just go to Crush Sorrow here. And not forget, unlike the last time that I did this, not forget to give this one Exorcism, because that took absolutely ages to take care of. Funny note, by the way, Clerics, part of the reason that we won't be using them much outside of this fight right here is because they won't have access to Exorcism for a huge chunk of it. Yeah, that's a thing. Or not Exorcism, but Meditate. Clerics, for some reason, get access to Meditate later than the Rune Fencer does. Or rather than when the basic wizard does. I don't think the Rune Fencer has access to it. Well, I'm just tripping over my words left and right here. Anyway. Alright, so the reason that you want to bring Exorcism for this particular one should be pretty obvious, but even if you go and give MP items to Cashua or Donalto, sometimes they'll just decide that it's a way cooler idea to just go fight stuff. I mean, they're definitely way better at that than they were back on PSP, but just so you know. Thankfully, Cashua actually comes with all of her... Well, everything except for... what was it? Spirit Surge. So, she's, again, a bit more useful this time around. She doesn't really even need Spirit Surge in this particular situation. I feel like part of that was meant to be almost like a surprise of sorts, because she always can use Spirit Surge in these ones, but just never really comes with it for whatever reason. But anyway, so we'll let our casters do their charging up. Our warrior will still be holding up at this point. Our Canopus will be holding up until the end of the chapter. We will be wanting to abuse some elemental advantages to get through the first chapter, but once we get to the very end, we should be in a far better place. I'm still kind of tossing up in my head which route I want to go down, because I'm very tempted to go down neutral, just because that will give us guaranteed access to a good Terror Knight, and that would be very essential for a lot of portions of this, but then if the entire strategy revolves around him, then, you know, that's a bit of a problem. And yeah, technically any unit can be a Terror Knight, but we also get way more units going down that particular route. I believe neutral has some of the most, so I would prefer law or neutral, just to have more potential tools to play around with. But I don't know for sure yet. We'll kind of play that by ear. This one's not getting to Belmamusa today anyway, seeing as we got 15 minutes left on the clock before I'm cutting it wherever it's at. So there's that, and it's probably going to be the end of this fight. All things being considered, where might be the end of the next one, I don't know. Let's see, we're out of range for any of her casts so far, so you just stay right there. I love the way that they've redone Avillahania. Man, it's just my favorite. You know, funnily enough, today was actually supposed to be a, I was planning to do some first impressions after failing to do a blind run of Armored Core 6 and then just kind of accidentally speedrunning the whole thing over the course of a very depressing week, so it was originally going to be that, and then go figure. There's a patch that drops right as I'm going to go do it, and then like our internet situation is temporarily screwy until a couple days from now, or actually I guess technically tomorrow at this point. So it's just functioning off of a hotspot at the moment. So I'm looking at the download speed. It's like, oh, this patch will be done updating in 2 months. Like, shoot, okay, I guess we're doing this one tomorrow. But you know, it happens. Yeah, there it goes again. The internet randomly disappearing. I hope it doesn't cause anything to crash. Like, I know in some situations I've seen where Steam just suddenly decides, oh, you're not connected to the internet, bye-bye for you. I don't think that's going to happen here, but you never know. Anyway, heal up Mr. Spudman. Yeah, he's going to need a better name. And I'm definitely leaning towards G1 Michigan. Dude, if you haven't played Armored Core 6, it is just the most Armored Core game I think that's ever Armored Cored. I love it so dang much. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Like, seriously, it's crazy to see a game just go so far out of its way to just be everything at once, you know? It's like, oh, we've got a little bit of a silent line over here. Like, oh, you want to see all the silent line plot points come back? You got it. We got them right over here. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want some 4th gen? Do you want some 5th gen? Oh, yeah, right here. You want to have some 1st gen? Hey, did you miss some of this cool stuff from 2nd gen? Yeah, we got that shit right over here, dude. Like, it is just a wonderful buffet of everything amazing from that series. It's just, you love to see it. It's exactly the kind of sequel I wanted AC6 to be. Exactly, and then some. Like, honestly, of all things, I'm assuming folks watching this may not necessarily mind spoilers for Armored Core as much. I personally don't think it's a game that you can actually spoil, just because everything is so context dependent that, you know, like if I told you, like, on my particular route, you know, G1 didn't end up making it through the whole thing, does that frickin' tell you anything? No. No, it doesn't tell you a dang thing over what exactly happened in that situation. Like, the hows, the whys, any of it. Because it goes places. Like, places I never, ever, ever expected the AC series to go. I mean, to be honest, when I heard Daemon X Machina announced, I was expecting it to be what AC6 was, where it's like they're gonna go explore the whole, just like actual horror aspect of the whole setting, of like just how quickly everything can be completely wiped out, how messed up the many forms of mind control are in this universe, how like the absolute horrors of even being one of the pilots throughout the series, and it's always just kind of ended up kind of starting to go down that route, and then just sort of becoming more like everything's depressing. It's a depressing setting and everything, but you're still doing, you know, cool stuff for cool reasons all the time. I mean, yeah, a lot of them are technically war crimes, but still, like, it's like you're still not exactly necessarily feeling, I don't even know what you'd call it. It's a very FromSoft feeling that comes from finishing one of their games, especially like recently. A lot of their recent titles have had that interesting feeling of like, man, I am a terrible person and I'm okay with that. You know, where it's like everything is over. Like, literally when I was playing my game, again, spoilers, should be expecting that at this point, and just like the frickin' universe ends, and that's just, I'm like, hey, I'm okay with that ending. Wiped out everything in existence in this particular section of space. I'm cool with that. That's exactly the ending I wanted. Like, it's surprising that that's kind of, as far as I'm concerned, in that scenario, kind of the good ending. That tells you something. Anyway, yeah, absolutely wonderful game is kind of the main takeaway I'm trying to put out there. Man, Canopus is going to seem like such a god for the first few hours of this run compared with everybody else. Anyway, it sucks that we can't get Recruit as of yet, because it would be nice to go pick up some of those zombies later, but come to think of it, let's see. Is there anyone... I want to say Voltaire and them come in at 4, so if they come in at 5, then we absolutely can go get us a free zombie, and that actually would solve a lot of problems. I'm gonna well, I say I'm gonna try it. It's all gonna depend entirely on how this fight ends. I tested the viability of a lot of strategies. I forgot to double check level ranges, because again, last week, I'm not going to delve into it because this is a channel about fun and enjoying weird challenge runs, not depressing stuff that happened in life that week. So, either way, we're not going to delve into that. But, as far as all this stuff is concerned, yeah, I think that could potentially work under the right circumstances. Anyway, this unit might not die from poison before we get there, so let's just go ahead and make sure that they do. There we go. Dandy dandy. You stay where you are. Yeah, Chapter 2 is going to change a absolute ton of stuff for this run. Because it's all those crafted pieces of equipment are really going to be where the real tech of the run starts taking off, especially False Strike Rapiers. One of the reasons I'm going to continue using Warriors, especially if I can get any units above level 1 here, is going to be for those False Strike Rapiers. Just being able to apply that while attacking without having to pay extra for it, especially if we can get a hold of some zombies or something. That is going to be huge. But we'll, again, cross that bridge when we get to it. Either way, for the time being, whack. There we go. You go there, you go here. We're going to play this a little bit safer than I did in my test run. Just kind of slowly, methodically take everybody out on this map. Just because I want to collect as many resources as possible. That is one thing that ended up coming up when I was going and doing my test run, that resources were a bit more scarce than I was expecting in some regards. There were going to be a lot of cases where we might want to be burning particular items, so we can get a hold of zombies and things. If we can get anything that'll improve our financial situation, that would be good to have, because unlike last time, like, we technically can get infinite amounts of money as we want. I'm not going to use the infinite money exploit, by the way, just so we're 100% clear. But if we do technically have access to some of that stuff, I just prefer not to really go down that rabbit hole as of yet. We'll get there. We'll get there, just not yet. Alright. I'm out of coffee. That's no good. I need more caffeine to keep functioning on basically no hours of sleep. Which, I mean, I joke. To be fair. Yesterday, finally slept decently well for the first time in like 2 weeks, so that's nice. Alright. Is he going to exercise? He will not exercise. Dang it, Donaldo. Why are you being a fat ass? Exercise, please. You need to get that skelly going before he comes back and bites you. Alright. So. Yeah. As far as the whole internet thing, it's funny. We had an experience recently where just, if you've never had Comcast before, they love dropping very unpleasant surprises on you. So, the bill was kind of annoying with them, like one of those ones where it was the usual standard Comcast experience over, you know, we just decided to add more to your bill over here, more to your bill over here, you know, that kind of stuff. And so partway through, we came to this situation where they just suddenly pop up and like, hey, so contract is expiring. For your convenience, we went ahead and combined the bills of the last couple months so that you can pay it all at once. Would you like this sudden $400 bill? I'm like, no, how's that convenient exactly? It's like convenient for you, maybe. So yeah, but either way, that's all been handled though. Although definitely not renewing with them, so just screw all kinds of that. Like the only reason we had them to begin with was because there was no competition for them out here, and finally, apparently at some point, the other networks decided to come to our city. I mean, it's a bigger city. I have zero clue why they haven't gotten here up to this point, but whatever. At least this area, anyway. So yeah, finally get to do something else in that particular regard. Alright, so now with this fight almost done, the question just becomes, do we have level 5s out of Voltaire and Sarah? That would be perfect. Actually, come to think of it, I should probably kill Donaldo. Because he's not going to get... Oh, actually, they will be at his level. So, if he's coming in at 5, we have a recruiter. Alright. That gives us zombies, which means that we're not skipping. Well, actually, I was never going to skip Nibith. What are we talking about? That was never going to happen. We do stuff stubborn around here. We're not going to frickin' skip Nibith. We're going to go about it in a little bit of a different way, though. Because we don't want to hop into that particular boat just yet. So I want to handle him closer to the end of Chapter 1, just because it'll give us some access to some better equipment, which will give us a few better tools to play around with. Anyway, let's see. Will he still be able to make the shot if he picks this one up? Because, like, this is about as... Yeah. Do we even need it, though? I mean, really, we don't. It's probably just a 2-tap from the bow for this point. Yeah. Let's do it. I was hoping he'd land the crit. It will. It will. Let's just go forward, drop some poisons, all of that type stuff. Beautiful. Let's kill off everybody here. Alright, he's dead to rights at this point. You're just going to go ahead and slap this other one around. We finish her off, take whatever tiny amounts of loot she's got on her. And then we finish the fight, and we take our level 5s. That gives us our recruit. I can't believe that I didn't... I don't even know why I wasn't checking that earlier. I think I even might have checked it and then just forgot, now that I think about it. Now that I think about that time that I didn't think about a thing. Anyway. Alright, you go ahead and heal, because apparently you're just never going to have access to exorcism at this point, because you keep healing stuff. Kashra should be able to handle that unit over there. And just do that. Denim's probably safe. You know what? He heals. We actually might still have some time to go get that exorcism done. Because there's just enough to keep a heal going pretty much every round. Not so much a exorcism, especially because she doesn't have access to meditate. However, we can meditate with a knife. So there's that. Alright. So we knife meditate. That'll give her a few more points. Let's see. You're going to go ahead and charm this one into hopefully shooting the bow. At the ghost, anyway. Ghost is going to come back right now. Hopefully that one takes it out. We will see. the Ghost I'm a little bit more concerned about loot-wise, because they might drop some stuff that could be helpful for us. In fact, that's going to end up being completely worthless, because we can just go ahead and just do that. Oh well. That's fine. That's fine. Alright. Go ahead and whackify this one. We're just going to go ahead and barely survive. Then who's left to do some damage to it? One of those casters or something? I don't know. Right, we were still looking for an exorcism. So let's go ahead and get our emergency heals out of the way, see if they both decide to go for the exorcisey. Please? Apparently not. Alright. I know, it seems like a weird thing to get kind of fixated on here, but it will be a useful thing if we can make it happen. Because a lot of the ghosts have a tendency to drop spells. If that's extra spells, that is a good amount of extra money. There we go. Up to 20. She needs 30. Let me just go over here. Let's see. Hand axe would do 286. Bow would do 274. Both of which are slightly too fatal. So I'm just going to leave that as is. There goes our no in-cap run. Alright. Alright. She's a 28. Actually, if she hits her with a stick... Yeah, it's still going to give 2 regardless, so... I guess we just continue beating her with a stick. You know? Whatever. There we go. Now he gets the exorcism off anyway. And she wouldn't have had enough anyway. Okay, whatever. Pointless plan is pointless. Let's continue on. We can now go ahead and retire the cleric for the time being. Just simply won't be enough for us. You can go ahead and finish this one off, and we can carry on. It has passed the 45-minute mark. Dang it, I'm not doing good at following this rule. Okay, anyway, whatever. We're going to do a quick menu check, and then we're going to wrap this one up for today. Yay, Aqua Blast. That probably was from that ghost, and some sleep, and a blessing stone. And we're probably going to want to go for a lot of optional objectives if I can stop forgetting that they are a thing that exists, because we're definitely going to want a lot of their rewards, especially the upgraded equipment later on down the line. Because a lot of times it gives you access to gear that you wouldn't otherwise have. Alright. Get you and get you. Alright, so let's see what we do with these guys. First of all, you can be a recruit knight. You're fine as you are. Recruit is right there. Phalanx is right there. Pincer we're basically never going to use. You're going to stay defensive. I want you to be a bit more nimble, though. So you're going to switch over to an axe. Because basically, looking at the slight boosts we get from equipment, let's just go ahead and run to the shop here real quick. Yeah, we get some stuff there. Okay, so... I'm going to switch them to axes later, because right now there's no point, but a lot of the axes have a tendency to carry a vitality bonus early on. Swords would give us a strength bonus, which is kind of second best defensively there. You also get a better strength bonus and a loss of avoidance from the hammer there, which, again, it's fine in either direction. The hand axe is just slightly less, and you're still getting 1 strength, 2 vitality. It's very, very slightly less, very slightly better speed. Just in general, it's the thing that I prefer to stick on there for defensive purposes. So they're fine staying as that. I'm thinking we maybe switch Sarah over to a knight as well. Just, again, they'll typically be able to survive a bit better. They've got the levels for it. I'm thinking Donnie here switches over to a knight as well. That way we have 3 recruiters, we have 3 phalanx users. So that should be exactly what we need to make something like this happen here. Let's see, probably a rampart aura as well, just to prevent stuff from moving. The resist petrify we'll definitely need down the road, just not quite yet. But either way, this gives us 3 units with some skills there. These are ones we definitely don't want to be losing for the time being, so, we'll do as we do there. Do I have any more defense rings? I don't think I bought enough for them. There's one here, there's one here. Now, interestingly enough, when you recruit a random unit, they don't seem to... I don't believe they actually work the same way as set characters do. So usually when you recruit a random character, they are scaled down to your union level, so they should still be level 1 and or level 0 in this case. I don't know necessarily what that means, but we're gonna find out. But if we can get some zombie units, that'll be a massive difference for the purpose of this run. So that's what we're going to start testing out next time here. So, you know, we'll go ahead and do that next. Here, let's put some items on you just to have them here for the time being. We're definitely going to want Zolia Draught later, because anything that charms is just pretty much guaranteed to charm us, so also something to bear in mind. But either way, we'll continue with this on next time. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you soon.